What's up, YouTube? Kristo here. Joining me today, Brandon.
Hello.
Check out his channel. I'll link it below, annotate it below, whatever. Yeah, today we're going to do a really big video, something neither of us have really done on our channels. The big one, best fragrance compliment getters, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
The most complimented fragrances.
Ever, in our opinion.
Yeah.
From our experience.
So, what do you think? What are yours? What are your big ones?
Alright, so my big ones, I'll start off with number one. My number one biggest compliment getter is probably Dior Sauvage. I'm joking, actually. We're actually making a video on the myths and realities of compliments with fragrances in general.
Yeah.
We're not saying compliments don't exist, but we're just saying they're really over-exaggerated, and it's not to the point where, you spray on some Sauvage or Le Mans. You go to the club and women are just like, oh my god, you smell amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's happened occasionally, but in our experiences, it hasn't. And with that being said, I don't want to say we're like losers or anything. Like we date women and stuff.
I don't. I'm married.
Yeah. Well, like, I don't know.
I know what you mean. I don't want people thinking
we're not like these guys who are like, we go to a club and we just suck or whatever. But for example, I have a group of friends and we frequently go to Toronto and we go to nightclubs. And so we're at this nightclub and I got a few numbers from girls just from, casual conversation. And while you do that, you're standing very close. They can obviously smell. I mean, you can smell yourself. They can obviously smell you. And they never say you smell good. Even girls I've dated, you're close. You're physically close, and they never say anything.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a little odd.
Yeah, my wife has never really complimented fragrances.
Yeah.
Like, I'll spray something, and she's like, "Oh, what is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's this." She's like, "Oh, that smells good." But yeah, I don't really consider a compliment from someone I'm married to be a compliment.
Like a compliment in the sense that it's like some hot 10 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
It goes up to you and it's just like, yeah.
That you've never met, never seen before.
Yeah, who just wants to bang because you smell amazing. Right?
Yeah, and I think the kind of myth of, just completely unsolicited, unknown compliments, people you don't know at all. Like, if they come up to you and say they like your fragrance, and it happens. It's happened to me lots. It's very rarely sexual or used as pickup line or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think when you do get people complimented in clubs or whatever, which I've never, when in my single days, I never got compliments. Even going to bars now, I don't get compliments.
No.
But I think it's used as kind of like an in to talk to this person.
For sure.
You see them, you think they look attractive, they're probably good looking, probably dressed well.
Yeah.
You notice they're wearing a fragrance, it's probably a way for you to approach them easier.
It's like an icebreaker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I really highly doubt there's many guys that have just randomly had a girl come up and say, "Wow, your perfume is amazing. Will you come home with me?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, you're not very good looking. You're wearing rags, tattered rags, but your cologne smells awesome. I want you to come home with me." It's probably, good looking, well dressed, confident.
Yeah.
The cologne on top just adds to it. And I think those, even then, they're not compliments. It's just a way to talk to someone that you find attractive.
For sure. It's like a way to sort of initiate the conversation.
Exactly.
Just an icebreaker. And with that being said, I'm not saying fragrance isn't attractive. I'm sure they notice anything that smells good.
Yeah.
But it's just, they don't just say it out loud.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like
and
that.
Yeah, I imagine there are people who just walk by you on the street and go to themselves like, "Wow, it smells good."
Oh, for sure.
But they don't say anything.
For sure, yeah, definitely.
I'm sure that happens more often than an actual verbal compliment.
Yeah, which is just...
And see as well, there's also this kind of myth that people who say I wear fragrances for myself and I don't care about compliments, that they're lying. They're all liars.
Oh, yeah,
And that they
yeah.
secretly are envious and jealous that they don't get compliments, or they
Yeah,
secretly
yeah.
want them.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I really, truly, genuinely do not give a rat's if I get a compliment on my
Yeah.
fragrance.
Oh, for sure.
And if I do get a compliment, which is very rare, very, very rare,
Yeah.
it is just kind of a nice byproduct.
Oh,
if I
for
get
sure.
a compliment, it's like, oh, okay, that's nice. It's kind of a little ego boost. It's,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it's just friendly when someone has the ability or they feel comfortable that they can just say that to you.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But it really, truly, I do not care if someone likes my fragrance.
It's not like it's like our identity. It's not like, oh,
Yeah.
perfume's my life or whatever. I mean, we enjoy it on ourselves. We enjoy smelling it, and you know, we don't necessarily do it to like, you know. I mean, you're married, but
I
not to
think-
get bitches. And
I
stuff.
think the people who say, you know, compliments are important to me are usually not the people that fragrances are my life. They are usually
No.
entry level, you know, drugstore,
They just want, like,
mainstream,
Yeah.
department store fragrances. Or they're like, yeah, I paid $300 for this. I damn well better get compliments.
Yeah, and that's
And yeah, if you're paying $300 just for compliments, you must have some self-esteem or, you know, some kind of confidence problems.
I agree. No, for sure. I mean,
Like the middle-aged bald guy driving a brand new Corvette.
yeah. It's like they hope the Corvette will just wheel them some women.
Yeah,
Which-
they'll look cool or whatever.
Yeah, like it's
attention.
just to like something expensive that they hope will just grab people's attention. Which, for some material goods, that works. For fragrance, I don't think it does.
Well, I think it can to an extent, but again, it's like just because someone smells good doesn't mean that they're, you know, rich.
No, yeah,
You can
yeah,
smell good
sure.
for like really cheap.
Oh, you can definitely.
But yeah, if you see a dude driving, you know, convertible Mercedes, like,
Yeah.
he probably has a bit of cash.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's a good
Um,
point, actually.
But you know, but it's still, it's just like I don't really see it really as a symbol of wealth, because
No.
most people in the world probably don't even wear fragrances, and most people that do probably have a stereotypical kind of image of designer, you know, drugstore
Like Hugo
fragrances,
Boss.
like Hugo
Yeah,
Boss and
yeah.
Yves Saint Laurent, stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
$80 a bottle.
Yeah, definitely.
And like having an $80 bottle of fragrance to me doesn't really show a symbol of, you know,
A true grasp of like enjoying perfume. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like,
or wealth or power or whatever.
no, oh, for sure.
Now, I definitely have gotten compliments. I'll talk about a few. There's a few
Some
big
examples
ones.
you have.
A few that, you know, I've probably just forgotten about. Like, I've been wearing fragrance basically since I was in high school, like 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
So like 20 years, over 20 years. And even in high school, I really don't even remember getting compliments. Even like girlfriends or girls that I was into or were into me, never got any.
Yeah. It's
I
interesting,
did
man.
get a few in college. That's
Right.
probably about the only time as like a single available guy getting compliments from attractive single young women. That's the only time really in my life.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Now, the biggest one, like the biggest reaction I've ever had,
Mm-hmm.
I was teaching grade 9. So it was my first time where I was actually teaching in a school. I had done like after hours courses and stuff
Right,
before.
yeah.
So I was actually in a class where I was the teacher. You know, they were wearing uniforms. I taught from curriculum and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I wore in my brand new bottle of Armani Diamonds.
Right.
And my grade 9 class, like grade 9 is in junior high school there.
Right.
Unlike here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like, you know, 15 girls in the class or whatever, like half of them. And pretty much all of them just like went berserk. They're
That's
like, oh my
nuts.
God, sir, what's your perfume? What are you wearing? It smells so good. I love it.
Yeah. It's
I was
wow.
like, oh,
that's
it's Armani Diamonds. And like, oh, it's so good, sir. I love it.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah, that's-
And the funny bit was, at the end of the year, like, you know, that was probably October or something, like towards the start of the school year.
Yeah.
The end of the year, because it was like my first time teaching in a school, junior high school, you know, quite substantial. I did
Right.
like a questionnaire with them. I was like, okay, I want you to put down things that you thought I did well, things that you didn't think I did so well, you know, maybe some tips or advice for next year, because, you know, I might not be teaching you, but I want to make my students enjoy my class as much as they can.
Right.
So I put them in groups. I gave them a couple minutes just to make up some, pointers or what I did well or didn't do so well. And so I got to one group of all girls, and I was like, okay, what did you say? What did you think I did well? And like, oh, you always smell really good. And I was like, well, thank you, but I not really see that as my teaching technique. I'll accept it as a compliment, but not really part of my
part of your actual teaching ability. Hey man,
and I always thought that was kind of funny because they remembered it and actually wrote it.
Wow, that's interesting. That's actually that's definitely a compliment.
But they're like 13-year-old girls. So it's kind of,
I suppose they probably don't smell much of that.
No. They're actually not allowed to wear fragrance in class.
Oh, they're not.
No, but I had different.
But you could.
I could. Yeah, I had a different contract than the local teachers. But whatever.
That's cool.
I've actually gotten quite a few compliments on Frederick Mall fragrances.
Yeah.
And the biggest compliment, like this biggest single, like just kind of overwhelming compliment I had was with Bois d'Orage or Fragrance French Lover.
Right.
And I went into the bank. I had to change some information on my account. I just moved and needed to change some stuff.
Right.
And I went up to the counter, and the woman was like helping me. She's like, "Wow, you smell really good. What's your fragrance?"
Wow.
And it's kind of hard to tell someone about niche that probably doesn't know about it.
Just doesn't understand.
And I was like, "Oh, it's called French Lover from this kind of like obscure high-end brand." She's like, "Wow, it's so good." And the reason I know it wasn't sexual is because she like casually dropped in her husband who collects or maybe appreciates cologne.
Right, yeah. If she
and it
drops
wasn't
that,
like she was doing it to like
hey, I
kind
know
of
you're
put me in my place.
yeah.
She did. She's like, "Oh yeah, my husband, he really likes cologne. That's a really good one. I'll have to look for it."
Yeah, definitely.
But she was like, she asked me like 3 or 4 times like
That's
what it was,
wow.
and I was really vague about it.
Yeah.
Because it's just hard to get into.
It's kind of be like, okay, this is a niche house from, blah, blah.
From
These
France,
are the
and this is
notes.
what they do, and exactly.
Yeah, you know what I mean. That's
so she kept asking me, she's like, "Wow, I really like that a lot."
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten a few compliments from Une Rose, actually 3, which is probably like my actual most complimented.
Right.
One of them, I'll just say the one, it was kind of funny. I was in class, and this girl came in who, everyone in the class knew she's very outgoing,
right?
Very extroverted personality.
Yeah.
Says exactly what's on her mind. She doesn't hold back.
So just quickly. Right,
yeah,
anyway.
I'll finish this one.
Okay, I'll say mine real quick.
Okay. And she came in and she's like, "Oh my God, who smells like a baby?" And instantly I kind of like, "Oh, I don't know. It's probably
totally
me."
Gonna be you. Yeah.
And she actually went around sniffing people in her vicinity.
Jeez.
And
that wasn't so weird, just knowing she's coming.
And I get really uncomfortable in situations like that. She's like, "Oh, it's you, Chris. You smell so good." And she's like, "Can I have a hug?" And I was like, "Okay, sure. I know you. I know it's innocent.
Yeah.
She's not gonna do a bum grab or something.
Grab the dick.
And so I gave her a hug. She said, "Wow, you smell so good."
Wow.
And
that's pretty aggressive.
But I know it wasn't a sexual advance or anything.
Yeah, not like in a club where a chick's like, "Hey."
Yeah, I know I wasn't her type.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And a couple others with Une Rose as well, but so let's do yours.
I'll just quickly say mine. We're a little short of time, but okay, like I have 2. One doesn't even count. Like I've been wearing them for 2 years. I guess like you kind of know. Like I don't want to brag, but like I can date women and stuff.
And you
everything.
approach them very confidently as well.
Yeah, thanks. Well, so anyway, so I'm able to like date women or whatever, and so for 2 years I've been wearing fragrance. And the only 2 I've received, I received one. I put on an original formulation of Le Male, and I went up to a group of women, and actually it felt weird, but I asked them, "Do I smell good?" And they're like, "Yeah," and it's odd, and I just laughed. And then another one.
But they didn't get aggressive.
No, they were like, "Oh," like
yeah.
But and then the other one, and like I'll keep this PG. okay, like I don't associate myself with this. I just found myself by accident in a bad situation. But there's a bunch of prostitutes who came up to me, and they're like, "Oh, you smell good." I was wearing Wonderwood, Comme des Garçons, and I thought to myself, that's the first compliment I ever got.
Yeah.
From people who want me to pay them to
exactly
to bang. So I mean, that was weird.
Yeah. So
that's
the
about-
compliment was hoping that it would seduce
Hopefully, I'd be like,
you,
oh yeah, and like now I want
which they would
sleep with
benefit
him.
from.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. So in summation, basically, we're not saying compliments don't exist, but I
No,
think
no.
in the amount that they're made out to be by reviewers.
Yeah,
and
it's not like you get
YouTube
20 a night,
personalities.
it's not like
No, in order to do
No.
a top 10 list and then update it and update it again and do a seasonal top 10 and then do like niche most complimented, designer most complimented, you literally need to receive hundreds of compliments a year.
Yeah,
Hundreds.
yeah. For
And
sure. In order just
it-
to calculate it.
And to me, it just doesn't count if it's your friend who knows you're into perfume,
Yeah.
someone at work that knows you're into perfume,
it can't be that.
your boyfriend, your girlfriend, you know, someone you know. A real compliment needs to come from someone you don't know,
Yeah.
that you don't associate
comes
with,
up to you
who
who you've
just
never
comes
seen
up.
before.
Yeah. And to me as well, like, I don't care about compliments, but if I get one I like it, and it doesn't matter to me if they're attractive, if they're unattractive,
Yeah.
I don't care who's, it's just kind of a nice thing.
It is
but I
nice,
don't need it. Yeah, it's just marketing.
It
Compliment videos
It's just trying
get
to sell
big
things.
numbers. They get subscribers. And, you know, the thing is, for the most part, people watching that are young newcomers that are into drugstore colognes,
who don't know much.
that don't know much about it, that just want something that they can wear to the club that will get women to notice
Yeah,
them.
it's just like they think women will be drawn to it,
Yeah.
which they aren't.
Yeah.
Not fragrance specifically. I mean, you might be drawn to a guy who's like, you know, super good looking, you know, dressed well,
Yeah.
smooth, charismatic. But if someone smells a specific way, you know, I mean, like, I've been in nightclubs for a while, and like I've never seen a chick approach a dude say you smell amazing. I've never seen it, and I've been with dudes who wear fragrance, and I've worn fragrance, never.
Yeah.
I received one comment from prostitutes. So
You know what? Now that I've been to nightclubs like many in my day,
Yeah.
and I'm not really an outgoing person. Like, I do kind
Yeah.
of stick to myself or
For
just
sure.
quiet, hang out with my buddies or whatever.
Yeah.
But even then, I never got compliments.
Yeah, exactly.
Never. I would have girls come up to me and talk to me like, no problem.
yeah, that's sweet.
But I would never
wasn't because
have
of the
compliments.
fragrance,
No,
though, yeah.
and I didn't approach them. Girls would come up and talk to me, but
Yeah,
they would
yeah.
never say you smell good.
It was never you smell. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, that's about it, I think.
Yeah, wrap
I think
it
we should
up.
probably wrap it up. Well, thanks Kristo for having me on.
Yeah, no
that's
problem.
awesome. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so leave some comments, play nice,
Yeah.
but yeah, tell us about your compliment experiences, your thoughts, opinions, maybe
Yeah.
your most complimented fragrances, whatever.
For sure. Yeah, like let us know what you think, what your compliment stories are. We're interested in hearing your
Yeah,
feedback.
always.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
everyone. See you again soon.
See ya.